Good night, good night, good night. Can you hear me well? Testing the mic. Good night. Can you hear me well? Good night. Testing the mic. Can you hear me well? Welcome back to Alternate Views. Viewers, I would have missed you for quite some time. You would have been offline for quite a while. So I just want to welcome you all back this evening. Um, we have our co-host Nigel here, so we're going to bring Nigel in uh, at this moment. And welcome back to Alternate Views, Nigel. What's happening over on your side?
Greetings, one and all. Thank you for having me back, Mr. Stewart. It has been some time, but everything is everything on this end, man. Every day above ground is a reason to give thanks. So no complaints, man. How about you? I know a lot has been moving.
Well, yes, yes, yes. I am glad to be back on the program to share. I have a lot going on at the moment, as people have been reading and seeing and watching. So there's the normal usual political stuff, and I've not been doing so much article writing as of late, but still very much contributing um, via social media and video to the public discourse and debate in Barbados. Uh, been engaging with the people a lot, trying my best to get out in the community ever so often, trying to get around as well to other places in between, battling health and family and, you know, trying not to starve. Um, I've been trying to make life work um, and give God thanks throughout it all. So
Right.
we have some early alternate viewers. We have Mystic Angel said good night to the panel. Blessings with true.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
said welcome back, Nigel.
Give thanks, Mr. Angel. Welcome to you. Welcome back. I'm glad to see you early and on, and you're ready to go. As you can see, back to the future. So we will see what Mr. Stewart has in store for us today.
Well, as usual, we start with as this is the month that our good mentor, Dr. Dennis Lowe, for the past, may the Lord rest his soul. He would have passed on
Mm,
September 16th this month. So we just want to, acknowledge the good doctor, Dr. Lowe. Just check him out here on the journey. Such a great book. Last couple of seasons, we'd have done extensive work analyzing what was said in the journey. So we're going to pay respects to Dr. Dennis Law tonight before we jump into our Back to the Future conversation. Um, as you know, Dr. Law would have inspired the concept of lifelong learning as we discover the terminology lifelong learning in this book. And we've all adopted the approach of being a lifelong learner, which would have, us develop alternate views, to develop emerging philosophies that we have as the youth of Barbados and the youth of the globe, you know, are the future of the world. Uh, so we give thanks. No, random quote from page 369 of the journey. It says, pursue a lifestyle of contentment. Pursuing a lifestyle of contentment should be the endeavor of every human being. It represents an inner state of peace with who we are and what we have come to accept as our true sense of being. It is a lifestyle that is of great delight. So it's shifting pages now. So we're at page 369 on The Journey by Dr. Dennis Law. And it says here that it is a lifestyle that is of great delight and plenty satisfaction. Contentment is the offspring of authentic living and the signature of a life that is on its journey to higher living. It is an achievable life quality whether we are rich or poor, or whether we are enjoying good health or experiencing periods of illness. The reality about contentment is that it does not depend upon external forces for its existence. It is purely a condition of the heart that is stimulated by the state of self. And we should make every effort to pursue contentment with purpose and resolve. Contentment furnishes the heart and life with joy even when the circumstances around suggest that our disposition should be otherwise. No matter how rough times may be, it must be realized that a life of contentment is a sure anchor that will keep us stable during turbulent times. And that is a very powerful way to start the show. Is it contentment?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A great
That's been very,
message.
very wise words. Very wise words by the Dr. Dennis Law.
Yes. So how contented are we with our lives, with our personal lives? How much of us want more than we have right now? You know? Is it possible to be contented with what you have at this moment? No.
Don't want to cut you. Adjust the mic. You sound very far.
Yeah. Better now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes. Now I saw a clip or video by Bongo Hill. I can't remember if you sent me it, but I saw this video by Bongo Hill, and Bongo Hill was saying that he was going down the road, he has these flowers, and this guy had, you know, the light, and he said to the guy, let's make a trade. So I give you what I have, and you give me what you have. So when the trade was made, then the guy was say, hey, can I borrow back, you know, the thing that I just gave to you? And Bonga Hill was saying, no, boy, well, this is mine. You just gave it to me. You had it, we made a trade. I know I have it. It doesn't work that way. It was a very powerful life lesson for me in that, which leads back to contentment. Like, sometimes be a content you have, not wanting what other people have, right? And being able to be satisfied with what you have and trying to make do with the resources and the real thing circumstance for you. Um, and some powerful life lessons uh, in that many viewers around on the program could suffice. So over to you, sir.
Contentment. That's a way of life. You know. If you see the first thing in the morning you wake up and you should do is give thanks, because sleep in its own sense is a type of death. You have no idea what's going on in the world around you when you are asleep. Right? So to be given the gift or to be blessed with the gift of life, to let light come through your eyes once again for another day, that's the reason to give thanks. I also think that a lot of a lot of us, you know, on this journey of seeking self, trying to learn self and trying to understand self, we fall in a lot of pits of that lack of contentment. Based off of the story you just told, it seems as though the guy wanted what Bonga Hill had more than what he had. And then in realizing that he lost something, he wanted it back. No, I think we would do very good in just being mindful of being very grateful for the things that we do have. There's a lot that we don't have, but there's also a lot that we do have. And the higher way of moving is to be grateful for what you do have. Strive for what you want to achieve. You ain't telling nobody be limited in their pursuits. However, you will not be gifted or blessed with anything unless you are happy with what you have first. Those with extreme ambitions seem to be those who are corrupted easiest. You know, so that would be my little take on contentment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, very powerful take. Um, Definitely gave us some alternate perspectives to consider as people. So very happy again to be here back on alternate views with the viewers. Um, while we were offline, we're definitely working on some improvements. Doing the self improvement offline. Trying to come up with general ideas for content. As you know, my other journeys that I am on do take up substantial amounts of my creativity. So I'm trying to blend. Yes, I'm trying to blend the two. Now,
No,
I saw some
it's all
comments here from a comment, sorry, from that was Fabian Yard. So Fabian is saying good night to all. Kimar and
more.
Nigel, good to have you all back.
Big yourself, Fabian. Good to have you back as well, man. We would not be nothing without our viewers. So give thanks all the time. As the theme it seems to be is contentment. We are grateful.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. So
So
as Nigel said,
as much as I say,
I want to
I want to
take this
get
moment out
this.
to intentionally acknowledge the alternate viewers. Um, this is our first show back, first of many shows, season four actually. So we are just thankful to you all for consuming the content, being a part of the brand, hearing our perspectives, sharing our perspectives, being able to engage with us in agreement or disagreement. And we encourage varying perspectives, as the show is called Alternative Views. So we accept non-traditional perspectives as relevant and useful to moving towards the future. But to move towards the future, sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward, if that
Mm.
makes sense to the viewers. So some of the modern day new age theories that we have, the modern day practices of law, the modern day practices of economics, I think they're saying the modern day practices of slavery. Is just finding more creative ways to uh, reinstate and capture the minds of people, unsuspecting people who may just want to live and enjoy life. But in the middle of living and enjoying life, um, if you don't have that spiritual banking and understanding built on knowledge, then we're speaking about the knowledge of life, the knowledge of Christ. You know, there are other institutions out there that people subscribe to and associate themselves with, all which would provide some level of um, semblance of respect for what we call Christ. Many different groups have who they would call the Christ of their organization or group. Um, so yeah, so we tend to get taken advantage of through the lack of knowledge within the population, or not just a lack of knowledge, but the rejection of that knowledge as well. The rejection of that knowledge as well, and also uh, the Bible said when not the Bible, sorry, it was said that you know when good men do nothing, no evil will triumph. Huh? So our job on alternative
On
views
alternative
is to provide that educational perspective, that body of knowledge, so that when our alternative viewers embark on the everyday living, the everyday life, that they will be served with facts and not get taken advantage of, you know, unsuspectingly by the war of words and the informational war that we are fighting in 2025. Um, Nigeria, in my opinion, the war for people's minds and the control of people's minds. Um, you have billionaires paying big bucks just to control big tech firms. You have governments all around the world investing millions, billions in cybersecurity, the digital platform, the digitization of their economies, the digitization of their societies. Also the digitization, but the regulation of digital societies. So before you could have a digital society, you have to still have a humankind or mankind operating the digital technology. So the digital technology cannot operate without a user. And when there's a user, there also needs to be a consumer as well. Right? So technology has evolved in a way that the user is also the consumer. Right? So as opposed to people becoming educated by the family structure or the traditional family structure, uh, educated in public schools, educated at church, in the mosque, in the synagogue, uh, in the fraternity. Like people are taking education into their own hands via the use of technology and the digital society. Right? So self-paced learning, learning at your own pace, specific topic learning that has an interest to you, you could try to hone that skill using the digital world and access to technology. Right? So what's interesting about technology is that technology is based on information, the distribution of that information, and essentially how the information is consumed by the social media users. So again, you have all companies around the world investing millions of dollars in marketing, particularly social media marketing. Even political parties um, who thrive on capturing voter attention have to rely heavily on social media usage. The banks are doing it, credit unions, insurance, everybody is using the digital society as a tool to capture people's attentions and also to capture unsuspecting minds. Yeah. So the point that we started with is the education, right? The education, allowing people to have the facts as it relates to I would say these new age interventions, exactly what they're about, how they should be used, what they should be used for, as we seem to progress. I mean, we're progressing more towards a fully digital experience. Um, right here on Earth, where you really and truly might not have to leave home for anything. And then if you leave home, there's this concept of 15-minute cities where everything that you need is within a 15-minute border or jurisdiction. So, any views from you, sir?
Mm. We are in the age of information. Those who are Gnostics, or go that route of Gnosticism, the age of Aquarius, where the water bearer, the sign of the water bearer, is pouring water, representing information. Not necessarily truth, just information, and we can see that in real time. We have access at our fingertips to anything and everything we want to see right now. However, as you pointed to, there are people who are taking full advantage of that, in the sense of Instagram. That is a platform now that their algorithm is tailored to what you like. It puts you in a space of, it's only going to show you what you interact with, because they know that's when they have you locked in. They have most of your attention in seeing things that you like. However, the dangers of that is such that you will now be in a thought bubble, meaning you would think that everything you see is all that is going on. And those who share those views and shares those ideas and opinions, everybody talking the same thing in the same place. So when any other information, i.e., possibly the truth, is now put at your footsteps, you are adverse to that, because this is what's happening. You're being tuned to whatever it is you interact with. Um, I do think that we have never been taught how to healthily engage with these platforms. We were just given them for free, you know. And anytime you're given something for free, somebody getting something somehow. So we gotta be cognizant of that. But I do think with the correct education, we are not yet too far gone that we can start to implement and become more producers than consumers. There's nothing wrong with consuming, but if that's all that you are doing is consuming, somebody benefiting off of that, and you're just using. It's a type of form of gluttony, actually, to just be consuming, and not producing anything. I am grateful to be living in this day and age, though, because there's elders that I speak to that are now coming into the knowledge of things like an Africa before colonization, where there were kingdoms and kings and queens and high level of technology. These people are 60 plus years old now, coming into that information in their lifetime. Whereas we, the younger people, are conscious of that, whereas now we can use that information to see ourselves much more, as much more than just people who have a colonial history, people that have been stolen from Africa and brought to the West Indies and every other way in the world. Uh, so I'm very grateful to be living in this age of information. But I am severely aware that many of us are not properly educated in how to actually interact and benefit from what is the reality that we're living presently. What do you, Mr. Stewart?
Yeah. Um, I took note of something you said there. About people experiencing just a colonial history. Like people becoming more aware themselves as not that, that the fact that like our life experience did not start at slavery.
Hmm.
We had a life, a liberty, culture, and ways and means long before history was imposed on us.
His story.
Yes.
Correct.
Now, depending on who you speak to, the world's history is very skewed, whereas Caribbean people tend to be very educated on the level of the system, right? The educational system. But as it relates to the body and knowledge outside of that system, right? Um, there was a lack of education happening there. So no civics really taught in schools, no organizational culture um, taught in schools, um, and basically no history, or I would say a naturally built in culture in particularly Barbados, other than what seems to be the colonial experience. Right? So the only thing people seem to brag about is crop over, and saying that crop over is the culture. That's the only cultural imprint I hear people speak about when you talk about what is Barbados culturally. Crop over. No, crop over, but it's but such a small speck of what is the Caribbean identity. Right? So I was Barbadian identity in particular, right? So what did we do? What life experiences did we have? Um, could anything be drawn? Where could we find and seek out knowledge on what was life in Barbados? If we were in Barbados, but what was life before the imposition of going to church on Sunday? You know, working slave wages. Um, yeah, the whole colon. What was life before that? And that's a very interesting question to ask. It's a very deep, soul searching question, you know, to ask. Um, is the being an orphan trying to find your mother and your father, uh, your long lost mother and father, knowing that you never see them before.
With no point of reference.
Yeah,
Mm.
so it's a very interesting development. Now we have a guest in the studio tonight. Um, his name is Nicholas, and we want to invite Nicholas to Alternate Views, another young, dynamic gentleman. Nicholas is a growing social media sensation, um, speaking and spitting the facts on TikTok and Instagram, on Beijing Voice 246 radio. His opinions have been garnering serious attention around Barbados and the Caribbean. I know just around the world in general, as you know, TikTok and these apps are open to global
It's global.
consumption. Yeah.
Global.
So Nicholas is a global personality. Local context, of course, as we preach that on alternate views all the time. So I want to welcome Nicholas into the conversation at AV, and let him introduce himself to you and what he stands for. So welcome to the platform, Nicholas.
Thank you very much, Demar. You can hear me?
Yeah, yeah. If you could come a little closer to the camera, because you seem a bit far, so we can see you.
Oh, that's the.
Yeah, a little better. Yeah, that's a little better.
Mhm.
Yeah. So welcome to Alternate Views, sir. Um, I guess the viewers here are going to want to know who you are and why do we have you on Alternate Views. So welcome to the program. What brings you here?
My name is Nicholas Jones. I'm just an alchemist who speaks truth and only truth. And that's what brings me to this show today.
Alright,
Yeah,
so welcome.
if you could speak a little bit. We ain't hear you too clear, or come closer to the mic, so that we could hear this
All right,
alchemist
better
of
if
truth.
I you can hear me now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we on it. We firing
That
you.
better.
yeah, way
Great.
better.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So we were discussing on Alternate Views. You know, various issues. I don't know if you were listening. Um, along the way, we wanted to bring you in, um, into the conversation. Before we get back. Well, we have already started. We're going back to the future, as you can see it coming across the screen right here at the bottom. So, as young people who often hear, the young, the future belongs to the youth. The future belongs to the young people. We're
The
thinking
youth is
about,
always the future.
yeah. So we're thinking about Barbados 25 years, 30 years from now, where we be approximately um, 60 years old. They're about 60, 61, anywhere around there, 62. So we are building for what the future of not just Barbados, but the Caribbean, what it would be like for us as young people growing up. What do we want to see as young people growing up? And also um, garnering different perspectives as young people. You know, how could we have a good future uh, growing up in this country?
The only way that you can get a strong future and a good future is if the future of the country will instill knowledge. They have to gain knowledge and get and instill knowledge from the older generation. The older generation keeping all the knowledge from the youth, and the youth do not want to have conversations with the older generation. But before you go to the future, you have to go back to the past to know where you are going. So I think that the younger children who are the future of the country have to show a little more respect to the past and be more understanding because the past was came up with a different programming. So we as the future that have a little more knowledge than the past have to be more understanding. So as older folks, we can just say, oh, you know what, the youngsters or the young girls, they ain't want nothing in life. They ain't going this straight road. I wipe my hands with them clean. But then when you wipe your hands with them clean, you know cut the connection from the past and the future. You understand where you're coming from?
Yeah,
For sure.
go on, go on.
We follow you. We follow you.
So I just think that everybody gotta reprogram the mind. And they could only reprogram the mind with knowledge. Knowledge is the key.
Mhm.
So I think that's very true. A man that don't know where he from can't possibly know where he going. And it is very true again, knowledge is the key. I do think though that the programming that was instilled makes a whole group of us afraid of knowledge, afraid to seek, afraid to ask. because we were given a template in which to follow. So anytime you're presenting anything outside of that template, you are seen from some points of views, maybe as a heretic, you might be seen as a rebel, you might be seen as, unorthodox. However, it requires one to challenge, you know, in order to step outside of what they call the box. If you can see with your plain eyes that whatever has been given is not working, not to say everything ain't working. However, there's clear facts that this system as is designed, it needs some upgrades, it needs an overhaul. Now, you spoke to some of the elders holding knowledge and not allowing the youth to to get it. Let me ask you this question: Do you think it is on the elders to give them the knowledge, or is it on the youth to seek the knowledge? Who has the stronger role to play? I think it's both, but
Every
what would you say?
every every tub have to settle on its own bottom. Every man responsible for his own actions. The truth don't how you find the secret is who's how you find the truth. So the youth is to seek knowledge, not wait on somebody to give them, but the elders that have it should always be willing to share it, because some of the youth just need the seed planting. And once you plant the seed, life can pour the water and the flower will grow. So that's where the older generation that have the knowledge have to step in.
Okay. Anything
Okay,
from you,
well,
Mr. Stewart?
well, as you know, my fight was always multi-generational. Bringing the different generations together, um, having different perspectives, keeping what works for us, shedding what doesn't work for us, and trying to, move forward, not harp on the mistakes or not harp on, what could it be, but trying to make the best of scenarios and situations. So in this day and age, making the best for myself and my associates and my friends, colleagues, even strangers, right? You have to try to live within certain guidelines and principles as a person. Right? So what I find in society is that you can have all the good qualities, you could be a outstanding person, you could, provide all the necessary knowledge and information, but there's this factor emerging, there's this factor emerging where this thing called money and economics is playing a major role in how people view life. Right? So life has become so expensive, so out of the reach of the average person that people would drop the integrity, drop the morals, drop everything that the whole state has to just for opportunity to get some money, to make some money, right? Um, Even if it's illegal money, just gotta get some money at any cost. So the love of money, as they say, is the root of all evil, and I'm really starting to realize it, where people, as I tell you, drop the self-respect just for that dollar bill. Right? So as societies become more difficult, as countries become more difficult to live in, as inflation takes over, you would find that people become, or not say people, but certain sections of society have less morals, they have less, less God, there's more the pivot towards other gods and other forms of non it was in non-traditional worship emerging. Um, so as society evolved though, and as young people living in this monetary based society where money is the god nowadays, right? Where money is the god nowadays, and it is difficult to express oneself as a young person without having some money, right? Uh, how do you guys look at it in terms of speaking to the young people out there? Um, we ain't just talking about the young men, we talk about young men and young women. Like, what you say to young people out there in this world where you basically got to choose between your character, your integrity, and the ability to, make some money. And this is all perceptive, by the way, right? This is not blanket statement, but you guys know that there are so many young people out there who believe that they are in such scenarios right now, right? Where they're conflicted between trying to live a good life or trying to do all the good stuff, but nothing seems to work. But I can see all the, we say, quote unquote, bad people in society getting through. Right? I can see all these so quote unquote people that tell me not to be late. I can see they're the ones having the money and having all of the fancy material stuff and seeing that they're the ones getting through. Right? And many people fall to the visual of those material things and find themselves involved in corruption and theft and other nefarious deeds just to be able to, again, to just get that money. So what do you guys think about it? Nigel?
I can tackle this one first with a story of a man named Dandimus and Alexander the Great. Now, Dandimus was a yogi or a swami, as some people will call. And there came a time when Alexander the Great came to conquer his lands, and he sent someone to meet Dandimus and tell him Alexander the Great, the king, wants you to come to him. He's telling him, you must come. You give him an order. And Dandamus said to his messenger, God, the great king, is not a source of violence, but provider of water, food, light, and life. Your king cannot be a God who loves violence and who is mortal. The messenger went back and told Alexander the Great what Dandamus said. You know what happened? Alexander the Great, the king, came to Dandamus, sat at his feet, and wanted to learn why he taught like that. Because the perception is, I am a king, and what I want, I get. If I give an order, you're supposed to do what I want. However, the lifestyle or the liberty of a man like Dandamus was, I don't want what you have to offer. One, you're not somebody that I would follow. You're not leading me to anything but violence and death. So, from that perspective, I would say the youth is suffering for a lack of leadership and a lack of point of reference. So, everything that's come from top down, inside out. So, if they're leaders who are also chasing money, chasing validation, chasing fame, the youth will see that and emulate it. Um, they have done a great job in making what is bad look real good, and what is good not appealing whatsoever. Um, so that is what I think is going on in terms of solutions. We have to make boring cool again. We have to make the things that are not flashy appealing again. We have to make life and liberty the standard again, because the standard right now is flashiness, showing off, validation. If you don't got this, you on a body. If you don't look like this, you on a body. Um, for the men, a lot of men falling victim to gang culture, but gang culture don't lead you nowhere but death or in jail. So there's no liberty in that, there's no life in that. That's violence and death. We have a real serious epidemic of BBL, the Brazilian butt lift, where women are changing their bodies in order to appeal. The claims are not men, but to appeal to whoever. However, why is it that your natural way is not good enough anymore? We got men and women bleaching and taking off their beautiful melanin that actually protects them from the sun and gives them so much information and life. They don't think that that is beautiful because what is being marketed in media, which is programming, they tell you is TV programming, radio programming, it's a program, that later is better. So everywhere, every from which corner, everybody getting hit with these information, and they don't have the tools, or as we're speaking about, the education to discern, like, yo, this ain't, when I'm pushing this vibe here, but this ain't life. This is not liberty, you know? So it comes back to what we're saying again, education, knowing who you are, knowing where you come from, and knowing where you're going.
Yeah,
You that over there, Nick.
yeah, that sounds good. Nick, over to you. Yeah,
Well,
over to you, Nick. Yeah,
if back to what you were saying, Kimar, about the money. If I create a small village and I use all of the leaves that growing in that village as replacement of money, and everyone in that village have to, whatever the Father put in store for us today, we have to turn around and buy with them leaves because that's the only way we are going to survive. And then while doing that, we are uneducated. What do you think will happen? So that is the reason why the world it is today. Because everybody dependent on the money. So money now becomes real. Although it's an illusion, it now becomes real. Because for money to becomes real, you have to put something to it. So if you swipe your card, you know create money. You go for a mortgage, you know create money. You go buy a car, you know create money. But without these things, money won't become real. But people don't know that because money is just a tool. But instead of money being a tool, it becomes people's life. So right now, anybody buyable. The price ain't your life anymore. The price is whatever you can bring. Nobody is standing on principles no more. Everybody, they just built a world on matter.
You got an awareness of the spirit. It's just
No
what you could
awareness.
physically see.
Correct. Every time I back to what you were saying is like the indoctrination of black people is why everybody doing these things because every time somebody look in the mirror, the only one improve what they can see, which is the matter, the physical. Whether you can put tattoo, whether you can put earring, whether you can bleach, whether you can straighten my hair. You understand? Just to improve the outer. But nobody don't study to improve the inner self, which is the spirit, which is the most important, the eternal being. And you said melanin, you bleaching to tackle our melanin, right? Whereas they got people in the world that killing for our melanin, because melanin is the highest selling thing in the world. So while people out there killing for our melanin, we bleaching out the melanin out of our skin, then to can't stand up in the sun. So we become vampires too. You understand? So you bleaching and then you can't stand in the father face. It don't make sense like that because we lack of knowledge.
But why? But look at the overarching point. Why or who influence people to bleach? Right? How the propaganda got so strong that it got in people's head to bleach the skin, to getting the children head to bleach the skin. Right? No. You you have a celebrity, Voice Cartel,
Yep.
who bleached his skin and influenced thousands around the Caribbean and the world to bleach the skin. He even encouraged white people to bleach the skin. That's how strong the influence was. Right? But before Voice Cartel, there was this narrative again where, um, black people had a dislike for themselves, so they want to make the skin a little lighter. They want to turn the hair blonde. We even have a endemic nowadays where black women don't use, well, not all again, but quite a few black women don't already wear their own hair anymore. Is Brazilian hair, Peru hair, hair from all over the world. Straight type of hair. But I love to see the women with the natural hair, beautifully done. Um, you know, but these things like hair and these other symbolic parts of your identity. Right? So your skin color, hair, your dress code, your speech. I am seeing on TikTok, social media, that a lot of people around the world are actually amazed at the Bayesian accent. Right? They're actually amazed at it. They love it. They like its uniqueness, the way how we express. Um, so once upon a time, people would tell you speak properly, speak the Queen's English,
Mm-hmm.
start using all these Bayesian dialect. But now people are paying thousands of dollars just to a TikTok video to come to Barbados so that a Bayesian could talk to them, right? And then they could videotape it and send it all over the world for their friends to see, right? Um, we even have celebrities like DJ Khaled and a lot of people coming here through Rihanna's influence. Um, because Barbados is morphing into a global brand name outside of the traditional United Kingdom and Canada. Barbados is getting extremely popular around the world with regular, normal people who are coming here, as I tell you, for that Bayesian experience, to hear how we speak, to wear the clothes we wear, to be on the beaches that we're on, to you know, to experience what we have here. So I would say that we need to allow more expression of the Bayesian identity and not smothering out the Bayesian identity for uh, but not so much a British identity, no, but it's morphing into be a more of an American type identity that we are adopting. So when you look at the exportation of culture, America has successfully exported its culture to Barbados and the Caribbean through it caught the generation above us through through BET, right? Through BET, and now that's now morphed into other shows like these reality shows with Ice Spice and all these modern day people that on the blogs. Even seen it with podcast culture with the people on the Breakfast Club. We have a couple locals who we could see they want to be like Charlemagne, the God. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
So we're still seeing how culture is easily exported from America and these places through the screen, right? And you have many people still acting and wanting to be like uh the Americans, not live like the Americans. But I should let you know that there are countries around the world that are actually blocking um, American content, right? Removing their people from consuming the American culture, citing that is damaging and destroying societies. And there are many countries that do not allow certain platforms, they just to take root and foothold in the country. So even like the OnlyFans culture, OnlyFans is a normal, the normal thing in America, but there are countries around the world stating that is corrupting society and they banned it. Mm. So, how do you guys see yourself in this day and age with all of these digital things happening in front of you? Uh, how are you guys keeping your own behavior culture in these things? How are you observing uh, the behavior culture in these digital things? How are you observing the? How's it, in your opinion? What is the behavior like among the people?
So again, get to the class and then come forward. So say Barbados is 300,000 people. And as you spoke to the dialect, the raw Bajan accent, you would the common logic is that something that is least has more value, right? Look at why was gold so valuable? Because we have a limited supply of it, right? There has always been this culture of assimilation in Barbados. Don't stand out too much. Always keep eyes behind your back. Don't talk too loud. Fit in, go along, get along. That stemmed from vicious colonization that happened in Barbados. Barbados was the progenitor of what was called in 1961 the Barbados Slave Code. Right, that became the blueprint for the British Empire for how they are supposed to govern Negroes and govern Black people. Now, Barbados being so flat, the slaves and the Africans that lived here were not able to revolt and rebel and, really fight back. They did, they tried their best, but the landscape ain't really built for that. So, fast forward now, descendants of those people who went through those atrocious things, they have in their mind for we to get through, we got to go along and get along. We got to assimilate, can't make too much noise, can't be too raucous, can't be too wild. You could look at even our school systems, very uniformed, very tidy, very strict on deportment, very strict on language and expression. So now to come to my experience as a Bayesian, I got the opportunity to live abroad. Now, in living abroad, coming from that culture, the idea is don't stick out, don't stand out, assimilate, right? It took a long while for me to get back to the trueness of what it is that I come from. But again, that required a level of education, a level of knowing, a level of stepping back and looking at the true landscape of what is being experienced. Now, you ask what am I seeing today from Bajan culture? Like, everybody love a Bajan. Everybody love a Bajan. The standard of the average Bajan is so high in comparison with so many people across the world, right? There's a resurgence of rawness. There's a song by this what's your name? Faith Calendar. Two chord blend and a R hole. That's the Bajan code, right? Man, when people sing that, they sing that so hard and so loud because who else to say those things? Nobody else is saying anything. Jamaicans got the Bumble Clark, Ross Clark. we got we are whole. You see me? Um, but in certain spaces of society, that would be looked down and frowned upon so heavily. But it is a call to wanting to be original and wanting to be who you are and standing up as who you are. So I think the youth of today is tired of assimilating, tired of fitting in, and wanting to be exactly who they are. I think Barbados has a very bright future on a global stage, given the right leadership and the right education. Overview, Nick.
Well, what you see and what you hear, this frame your reality. So if I control what you see and what you hear, and what you see and what you hear, this control how you feel. How you feel is how you react. So if I want to control how you act, I just cancel all of them and head straight to the root. I just control everything you see and hear. And this is what the people is doing today. They just use images, sounds, vibration to frame a reality. Because if you put sand on the table and you was to play music on the table, the sand can take different forms. Because it's the same thing that music does do with our body. It's, it's what you would say, tighten your DNA. That's why you will see everybody in the room just calm and cool. And then all of a sudden, one song play, everybody just up and you know, but everybody feel it within. So it's the same thing with words. So the people that just use, you ever watch a picture called Focus with Will Smith? You ever watch that?
I am familiar with it.
What Will Smith did, right, was he was betting a guy. So he the want money and he the want triple this money. So he the want make a bet that nobody will refuse to somebody that rich that got the money. So he went to a football game and he bet the guy X amount of money that he could choose that the guy could choose a player on or off of the field and he would guess the player that he choose. And when he choose the player and the man tell he who the player was, he was so amazed. But to rewind that early in the picture, the man sent somebody to his room with a type mark 55. When he was outside and he car driving, people parading, he see a big guy in a number 55. So remember, you see, there's a guy that you see during the day, the image that you see, combined with the number that you see from during that day all the time. When you combine, that's who you can choose. So he always knew that that's who he would choose because he made him choose that body. And this is just what the people that do it today. So sometimes people will think that their thoughts are their thoughts, but your thoughts don't be your thoughts. So that's how people just change other people's culture through the influencers, music, TV show, the Hollywood. You know, because Hollywood now is like, you know, they say the holy tree. Whereas they still used to make magic wands. But for me to perform a spell on you, I gotta be right in front of you with a magic wand. No, the people don't go do that because it becomes the magic becomes what we're using right now, the black screen. So everything that they want to send out and put into people, then you put through media, through the TV, radio stations, because then people just control everything. We don't control nothing, so we can't control what we can hear or what we can see. because even when it is to build something, use God guideline. You right now, right? Even building houses, everything that's got to be in squares. We're lowering your vibration. Nothing in nature don't grow in squares. Everything is growing in circles. We ancestors used to build houses in circular structures with a roof that pointed so that you could channel natural energy from the sun and the moon. You can't build that right now because the people control everything. So this where you get the fight. That when you learn what you're supposed to do, then you just realize you can't do it. I think that's when things just get real and you just know well, these people ain't for me. These people tricking me all along. People using me, misleading me, misusing me. But it's only a few that would catch on to it, that would be aware and conscious of it.
But this is what we were speaking about earlier in terms of um, a lack of awareness in terms of civics, knowledge of society, how society actually runs. And we're not talking about just going to school and coming out of school and getting a job, work, pay taxes, go to a fair on the weekend, and that's it, right? So we're looking at knowledge of engaging the processes which control humans, right, or which control the society. So people say, man, politics, right? Don't like politics, they don't like politicians, right? And frown on the entire process which controls the life, right?
Mm.
So if the very thing that controls your life you want nothing, absolutely nothing to do with it, well then I don't think you could complain about what comes out for you at the end, right? Um, outside of the politics, people want to get wealthy or they want to gain riches, but nobody taught us
But
how to make.
what is wealthy and what is
Right, I,
riches?
right, I get to that point now. Right, people want to get riches and they want to get wealthy, but the way that we are taught as black people, if you want to get riches and wealth, is a way to compromise the self system, right? So nobody teaches day trading and stock trading and buying the bonds and investing money, right? Nobody teaches us that. Nobody teaches us how to establish businesses for young people, learning how the ins and outs of businesses. Um, we're not taught these skills, right? Skills that you use your hands to constantly be making money. I'm talking about becoming a mechanic or nothing like that. But I mean, the skills which actually create and sustain wealth. Now, before it would have been taboo to talk about the Indians, the Muslim Indians in Barbados. But society has grown to the point where the Indians are actual players on the table in Barbados, which means that as the young people say, the Indians have not entered the chat and entered the chat in a big and serious way, where they are sitting on serious, large fortunes of wealth in Barbados. Um, and it was not amassed through waking up, going to school, finishing school, and getting a job at KFC or getting a job at Shafet or getting a job at a store in town. It was not done like that, right? We saw this thing grow from a coolie man in a
Hmm.
van to big, large business conglomerates, right? Big car importations, um, tobacco, household items, furnitures, um, you know, all of the
Appliances.
commerce, yeah, all the commerce and trade, they actually control it. Not controlling it because they necessarily like pirates take it from anybody, but they, you know, bill it, right? Because they had the knowledge, and that knowledge is reaffirmed in them um, through the practices that they have in their everyday lives, which, as I would assume, is facilitated by going to the mosque, right? So, as a man, and you go into the mosque, as you know, the mosque is only for men. The mosque is not a dwelling place for women, right? So, if the Indians in their culture are taught the benefits, right, and are taught the ways, and are given the understanding as to how to create wealth from something so small into something so large, right? And they didn't necessarily start out with government subvention or government subsidy or government sponsorship, right? They start out how they had to start out, and then along the way, they got help. Once people realized that the move was sustainable and it was moving forward and they couldn't do anything about it, then a lot of people then jump on board, right? To the point now where you say a lot of the young black men in Barbados actually signing up to join the mosque as opposed to joining the Christian church, right? So, what is it about the secrets of wealth that is embedded within their culture? What is it that we are doing wrong as a majority population? What can we learn from them that they are doing right, right? And how could we practice some of these secrets, sustain them as well, you know, right? Sustain them as well, and pass them on to the younger generations who may have something to start to go on. Generational wealth, because how many people in Barbados had to get a mortgage to get their own house because your mother or your father or somebody, grandmother, some not they were never in a position to leave you a house. You might have left a family house where a million people still have access to the family house. Right? But we are often starting below the eight ball. I would say we are starting at negative numbers in the way how society is set. So, what is your guys' observation? What can we learn from the Indian community in Barbados about how they practice the accumulation of wealth through business, right? Through business. So if we compare going to school, getting all of these jobs, right? You can clearly see there's the unemployment problem versus practicing the secrets and basically doing what I observed that they did in Barbados, and very successful at it. And in fact, I am actually admire, a lot of what they are
Did
doing in
are the
Barbados to progress themselves as a community and as a group. So, how do you guys observe this phenomenon to be?
What the thing is not a secret. There's no secret. It probably it just is environment and what is propagated and taught and the order of what they believe and what they practice. Now, unfortunately, Black people, the African diaspora, even on the African continent, have always been seen and used as the consumer base for everybody. Anybody outside of the Black race will come into a Black community and benefit and make so much money off of that community. Uh, I know it to be true that that stems off of slavery, right? Just this hate for each other. You don't want to see a next man make money if I ain't getting no money. However, the Chinese, the Indians, the Syrians can come in and do the same thing and nobody would bat an eye. I just think it comes down to education. There have been a small group of us that have learned this knowledge, applied this knowledge for it to become wisdom, and then made it their own, which becomes understanding. Uh, just like you too, Kimura, that's something that is admirable. You see somebody put in work small and eventually build it up to a whole conglomerate. You know, Holy
but
man,
unity.
they're united. They are
That's the
united.
main thing. The only
You
thing get it
understand?
done was unity, and
For sure.
that's what we missing.
That's 100%. That's
You know what I
100%.
mean? You know, it's
So
20 or 30 men in one house, and then everybody go a house.
mm,
We
mm.
can't do that. We can carry one of the soap, one of the toothpaste. Then they got argument. And then we can see Walmart there. All two of we doing the same thing. You know, I get $100 today, you get $100 today. But I gonna spend 80 out of my 100, and you save 80 out of your 100. So you see tomorrow now you got 180. I vex, you know. That's how we Black people is good. It's the mindset. First, because you gotta remember, these Indians they get the indoctrination we get, you know, from school. We went to school and we learned to be the buyers, not the sellers. So that's when everybody that's come into we community and make money because it's we that be buying. Nobody else doing buy across the world unless they're buying to sell. So who they selling it to? The people that ain't buying, and the only people that don't be buying and is the Black people that buying big like that to sell. Is the Black people. So we always got to buy small, so we was trained to be the buyers and not the sellers.
We were sellers, but you know what we get shamed for being agriculturalists, being in the land, rearing sheep and cattle. That is business. You understand? You know how much money is agriculture? One, you're feeding yourself and you're feeding your family. Two, you can make an income from it. Three, it's something that will not stop because one fruit is give you multiple seeds.
And
But however,
by
do
going
the educational system come and tell me that no, we are supposed to go and work in factories, we're supposed to go sit in an office, you know, we're supposed to go clocking, right? Um, I I do think that the the advancement, and I put that in inverted commas because it's like you're advancing backwards because there's no clear sight that this education of self-sustainability, self-sufficiency has really taken root. And the only reason why it hasn't taken root is because the same influences have not made this cool. You know, the bomb won't go work in the sun. But the boy can tell you if you wake up, you meet your son at 6. You count your sheep, you farm, you line, you up, you work done by 12. And you got a whole day now to sit down and meds. You got a whole day to sit down and do whatever you want to do. You know that these sweet potato crops coming up next 2 weeks, got out of market, right? But that ain't fancy enough. That is not noteworthy enough But you one time you're clocking another boy, father waking up, you working with the nature,
They don't like that.
right? That's not appealing, you know. So I think the same Coolie man example that wasn't appealing to a black man to go and get clothes and go and sell, you know. But trust, they want trust in the boy. If I sell you something, you gotta give me all your money. No, you know what I mean.
But as a
So
black man, right, and we do that,
mm,
being realistic, as a black man, and we go through community selling, we can either get robbed, somebody can arrest we, right? Then when we trust them, then they pay. Is you know everybody has got the same the fear, the something to frighten you. Then you know the Indians had the Baku, and then they had the this. So it's like everybody frightened. So it's just the perspective that people bring you um can't do this or that because this thing and this thing. And you know, it's been a lot of fear. But then when it's the own, you know, nobody don't got fear when it comes to the own. You hear? I'm a paying here, sing. Yo, this Vanguard and selling all these things making money. He think, more sing. I'm a pay he. If he vex, he could can't foot me. Yeah, there be mindset. We don't want to help one another, boost one another. So we cannot be like the Indians being realistic. It got to change first with the coordinate and brain. And it can take a long time because there's people that we know that go get children to change the coordinate in their brain. Let them change the coordinate in their children brain and it keep going on and so forth. Because we was indoctrinated by generation to generation to generation. So it got to break by generation too. It can't just break just like that. You understand?
very
You got
difficult,
generational
extremely difficult.
changes that is coming in a
Mm,
family where it's called a black sheep.
mm. What you
Well,
think?
well, literally, we were saying something about
Correct.
how
So
people were ashamed and embarrassed. How people were embarrassed for having entrepreneurship, having the spirit. Um,
Mm,
I find that we look down on entrepreneurs in Barbados. We tend to only want to promote people who are attorneys at law or doctors or people who have these higher intellectual degrees, and we tend to snub artisan, the agriculturalists, the people who feed us, people who make society functions properly. We tend to look down on them, right? No, I don't think there's anything that would change immediately or overnight because uh, this thing about classism, it's not so much race per se, it's more about class and how much money you are perceived to have, right? That's really what the modern day fight is about. No, you cannot gain wealth working at a 9 to 5, right? On a salary or a wage that is it can be below a certain amount. And even if you go and get a master's, PhD, you, you can work for between 5 to pushing it hard in Barbados between like $5 to $15,000. You know, if you're lucky to get one of those good bank jobs, it will go to 20, 25,000. High level insurance executive. But the odds and the possibility are not that high for everybody, right? No, you gain wealth or you create wealth through the practice of money and creating money, right, right, creating wealth over a sustained period, right? So a wage, Nigel, is paid every week or every 2 weeks. A salary is paid every month, right? But the man who earns money every day, clocks in that
mm,
money every day, at the end of the day, cash is king. Like, so the man that is earning money every day, cash flow, because cash flow is the most important element of a business. Right? Once you're earning cash flow is definitely power. And you are substantially superior once you have a more liquid cash flow as a man whose salary or wage is caught up in times of days and weeks, right? So you have overdue bills and etc. that mounts up over there. But if you are earning more cash for every day as a business owner, once that money is reinvested strategically and a great way to keep earning you back money, eventually you would be the more superior person in terms of the probability of you earning wealth at a much quicker rate, right? Now, I would like to show it to people, right? I would like to show it to people that in Barbados, if you choose to take the entrepreneurship route, there are hardly avenues provided by the system for you to be successful. So that includes access to proper financing, right? Access to the markets to sell your product or service, and also the I would say the platforms. Um, everything tends to be very cliquish in Barbados, right? So a lot of money flows around in Barbados, but to get involved in the money, you have to be associated with the right people, with the right clicks, cliques, etc. Um, before access is thereby granted to you, right? So there's hardly the creation of any new entrepreneurs that operate at a substantial level. Uh, the creation of new entrepreneurs is usually attached to an already existing employer, and you then become an entrepreneur as an entrepreneur. So you basically like you own a business, you function in business, everything, but you basically work for enough money, like a wage or salary, from some other larger business, right? So although you're an entrepreneur, you're still like a employee, for another larger business, working for them, creating value for them, and put yourself out there. So this is where I encourage the global view, right? Allowing people, right? Allowing people to have access to international markets. So me as a Barbadian, I should be allowed to earn my money in US currency. I should be able to earn some of my money in euros. I should be able to earn money from different financial markets around the world right here in Barbados, right? So yes, I could have a 9 to 5 job, right? Yes, I could have a 9 to 5 job, but I also want these structures in place that if I want access to international markets to get my products, services, and skills, I should be able to facilitate a pathway straight to the markets nation without so much red tape and so much blockage and intervention by what is called the system of government in Barbados and I dare say the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, It designed so though, you know, it designed to work for the few and be very hard on the many.
Hmm.
You understand? Um, until there is a true acknowledgement of what we are facing and who we are, it can more than likely always be these same cycles repeating themselves, and a one man and one woman getting through, one man and one woman getting through. But in terms of a mass of people becoming aware and conscious of what they're dealing with and how to go about doing it differently or being more successful, if you want to use that term, in terms of developing wealth. is going to take a lot of time, but the system is working very effectively and very efficiently. It's doing everything it's supposed to do. Everything it's supposed to do.
right? At one point in time, they said that the system chooses winners and also chooses losers.
Hmm.
Right? Uh, no, I find that in Barbados, again, a simple thing like transportation. When I went to Europe, so many people around Europe travel by alternate modes of transportation. Um, People use bicycles, people use electric scooters, people still travel by carriages. Um, you know, people use trains. Like there are various ways to get across big cities. Now, I find that in Barbados, we use cars as symbols of success.
It's the symbols.
Right?
That's
Cars
very
Very
as
good.
true.
symbols of success. Right? About them. Right? If
Look
a
like
man doesn't
we
drive a
lost
car,
you there for a moment.
um,
Yeah, yeah, you wait for it.
you can hear me now?
Yeah, we got you clear.
Yeah, sorry. Right. I was saying that I find across Europe where people would go use all different types of modes of transportation, right? Um, Bicycles, electric cars, electric bikes, electric scooters, horses, carriages. Like there are various ways to get around that people use in big cities, right? Now in the Caribbean and in Barbados, we tend to use cars as this major symbol of success, not recognizing that a car is called an expense,
A liability.
right? So it is an expense as it is a thing that has you constantly spending money, right? Constantly spending money to maintain. So when you own a car, you gotta pay for gas, insurance, car parts, and maintenance, which is a constantly you spending money. And in Barbados, we emulate your ability to spend money as that's somebody I want to associate myself with because of your the appearance of you being able to afford to spending money to maintain the car. Right? So what the car becomes an asset as it helps you with your transportation, it helps you to get around, etc. You have to be earning enough money to maintain it. So majority of the loans on the market today are car loans. Car loans. And then can repossess cars and stuff like that that we say is because people in these parts of this part of the world tend to look down on people who have a preference of walking, right? People who use like those alternate ways of transportation, we tend to look down on them until we get in these countries and realize that these are very effective ways of transportation and getting around. And that classist bias thing goes out the window quicker than a hurry, right? When you realize that people just want to save money and be effective in what they do. So transportation is one of those areas where you have to think about your pocket and find the most effective and easiest way of getting around without having to expense yourself. So being able to uh, put $200 in the gas tank every week, it's a big celebration in Barbados. But in other cultures, people are like, "Why you gonna find a way to cut down this money?" Right? Well, yeah, guys.
That's
And
true.
In
Go ahead, Nick.
Barbados,
Go ahead.
in Barbados, I don't think they will find out because reality, right? Gas shouldn't even be so high, and the people don't care. The more gas go up, the more people driving, the more people want buy cars. So what I can tell the oppressors, keep oppressing more. Them is strangle yet. They still got something. They still got juice coming. They may strangle yet. So they get oppressed more because it's only we in Barbados that these things could go so high and nobody don't protest, nobody don't do nothing. Because everybody know
Nick, stick a bit, Ninja.
Yeah, I think he click up a bit, but it's interesting, man. It's just this culture of flash versus the power of foundation. Um, those that have strong foundations, you would hardly find them being extremely flashy.
I can't hear you just now. They're
No,
reconnecting.
I was saying the culture of flash versus the power of foundation. That's what we're seeing. You know,
What's the last
those
thing?
who
What's
have
the last thing you hear that I say?
you went off around saying that it won't happen. The reality that Barbados has very high gas prices, and the more gas
Yeah,
we got,
and
the
the
more people is
more
drive.
we is the only country that don't protest or to nothing. Cause this gas prices in Barbados killing people. Well, it ain't really killing them because they ain't showing that killing them. Because if everybody park wherever them is and just go and walk and go home, when the thing happen, gas prices have to come down because if it's not selling, it have to come down. But if the gas prices raise higher and higher all the time, and the more we buying and the more we buying, it's obvious the people gonna keep strangling it. But they just look that so that when they cut off, once it affect them don't care about the masses. So well, I could do this and drive by this big car and got this gas in my car thing. Well, look at he picking car, he car always by all day. The little look down on people. You understand? So that culture can't change just like that. They are just very, very, very educated. But education is the people indoctrination. You understand? The more educated you is, sometimes the more indoctrinated you become. So it's only a few that can balance the education and reality.
Hmm.
So
Well, I agree. I agree with you, Nick, from the perspective of I went to school, and some people say I went to school long, right?
but not regular.
So I like school. I used to go to school all the time. I never really skipped school that much.
No, it's just a joke. That was just a joke. That was just a joke.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I like school, right? I wasn't really a skipper. Um, I may skip class, but
Yeah.
not school per se. No, I like the point we made that you have to balance between education and reality. No, I struggled on a personal level. Um, with having a law education, but not being able to monetize on that education, or not be not. I never learned. I would say skills per se, or the money making skills, right?
Mhm.
A lot of what I had was but but knowledge, right? So I learned a lot about. It was taught at school and we read in books and stuff like that. While I was going to school, I used to sell like um lollipops and snacks and stuff like that as a young entrepreneur. I mean, it wasn't supposed to do that, but we did it anyhow. And um, that was a good lesson for me, right? Because the money that your parents was giving, it wasn't really enough to really, for you to enjoy
It's
yourself
true.
and your fullness at school. So
It was
you
enough
needed
to
that
survive.
extra income. Yeah. Now, as you went past that time and you got a little older and stuff, um, s- school provided a ready market for you to sell whatever good you had to people. Right? So school had in between 400 to 800 students, and you could sell to them. But after school, where you may have your community, but there's no gathering really where you were going to sell, you know, any type of sales. So you don't have any ready done markets or whatever, access to people or whatever. So I fell into the mentality of applying for jobs, just writing CVs. And I mean, I wrote so many different businesses. Every CV I write, reject, 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 reject. You get a little interview here, then back to square one. And be home for long periods of time. And nothing happening. But you saw people coming back home who were selling like Akis, Stone, um, snow cones, um, masons, tailors, plumbers, carpenters. All of these men and women going to work, coming home every day with money in the pockets. But me, as the educated person, like I'm actually sitting on home, pockets, brat. You know, you ain't getting the money, but you got all this big education, all these big degrees and CXCs and everything. And at the end of the day, you ain't got a job, you ain't got no money, right? So during COVID, when everybody lost a job and they were at home with no employment, and they looking in the unemployment lines, I ain't seeing no white people really. I'm not seeing not many Indians. The unemployment line during COVID was black people in the majority, lines from here to St. Lucie. And it didn't matter what degree you had, it didn't matter where you was, well, it didn't matter you were in that unemployment line, on the bread line to go home, and you either had to look for a job or you had to stay home with all the big degrees that you had. But still, the entrepreneurs were getting up and going up there. The skilled people, the hairdressers, all the people that really to look down on, were still making money. We're still getting money. Right? So it was a serious lesson for me. Um, so much so that I actually frown when I hear people crying out young people for not wanting to go UE to get all these fancy masters and PhD, all that. When the motivation at the end of the day is to make money. It doesn't matter how the money is made once it's made legally. The point is just to make the money, right? So if you make $5,000 a day selling Akis and donks, you are much better off than the bank manager making $5,000 a month. Hey, I never sell Akis and donks any day if it pay me $5,000 a day. So what you have to say about that?
Well,
I
go
think
ahead,
the
brother.
the entrepreneur the entrepreneur will always get up, and especially an entrepreneur that is offering a service that people need or want. People like to look good. So if you're a barber man, you're a hairdresser, you're gonna get out. If you're selling food, people go eat, you're gonna get out. Electrician, people need to see. If you need light, you need an electrician. Everybody uses a bathroom every day. You need a plumber, right? But again, these are not marketed or shown as valuable things in life. People will look, no, people, some people will go so far as to don't want to tell you that, oh, but that's what my fathers do, or that's what my mothers do, because it don't sound good. It sounds better to say, oh, my daddy's a doctor. My mom is a lawyer. It carries a level of social currency, if that's anything, right? But as you said, during the pandemic, everybody in the unemployment line, the people who's the entrepreneurs is who's still getting it and making money. Um, I just think that we need a real reality check of what really makes a society run, what really is necessary to survive, and what is necessary to propagate and build wealth. um, these systems and structures that we have been given, they need to be challenged. I ain't saying Cherry Hope be built with the bathwater. There's good and bad in everything. However, I think we are getting the most perverted versions of what has been designed for something good. And that's because we don't know how to actually, we've never been taught, let me say, to actually utilize them in their correct way. You know? But a change is coming. It's too much information out there to hide from anybody at this point. No, it's down to the individual to tune themselves, to put themselves under heavy manners, as people would say, and tell yourself, listen, this is what I need to know in this day and age. Right? I need to know how to make money. I need to know how to sustain it. There's two ways to get more money. That's spend less or make more. Right? Those are the two options you got. Spend less or make more. So if it is that you are over consuming, spend less. You got more money. That's what you if you have vehicles in
Yeah.
which you can make more money, learn something extra, know how to expand, learn how to market yourself, learn how to speak. There are many books how to win friends and all these things, rich dad, poor dad, that give you the actual tools of how to use this thing called currency. You know what I mean? Uh, I do think though that it is a tragedy. Just like you do, Kimo, I sold snacks at school, but I didn't get to keep selling mine though. The crime, they said that this you lead in, you can go and sell drugs after this. But somebody with a forward thinking mind would have said, "Oh no, you have an entrepreneurial spirit. Let me culture you into, or what is you really want to do? What you think you could do and put this into?" But it's looked at as the negative side, right? Craig down somebody's spirit from the jump. No, we don't think we want to be an entrepreneur anymore because you associate doing something for yourself with negative, and that's backwards. You know what I'm saying?
That's the manipulation of the system, right? This world is an upside down world. So the good people is look bad, the bad people is look good, the weak people is perceived to be strong, the strong people is perceived to be weak. So what happened is back to what Kimar was saying about the education. You the all it is the trick. That's why you only see black parents telling the children, "Oh, you have to go to school to make it. Oh, you gotta go to school to do this, do that." So we as black people think that that's the only way out. So we just spend thousands of dollars on school, put ourselves in loans to get through these schoolings. And then we'll come out, as Kimar said, he applied in 1,000 places and can't get a job. Because that's how it's be. And then when you finally get an interview, they're looking for somebody with 4 or 5 years experience. No, you don't spend so much money. Because the only experience that you just get is on a job. So if you don't give me the job, how can I gain the experience? So you try to tell me no, I gotta go and look to going somebody place that you know that ain't gonna pay me what I deserve or what I need to help repay this loan for schooling. And then I gotta go and face these pressures for about 3, 4 years to get experience. By that time some people body or mind already break down because the workplaces become now the agents to all of all setting an equilibrium. So it's just a whole manipulation of the people. It's like, like when you coming out of a gap, there's got some mirrors that you just be looking at that you can know if they come out or not. You might can't see around the corner, but they will put a mirror for you to see. But you see, when you're looking at this mirror, the cars look like it going straight, but they're actually coming across you. But when you look at them in the mirror, it look like it going straight. Because that's how the system does operate. Send a false narrative. Make you feel you used to go so when you used to originally go like this. So it's just a manipulation. So everything the system teach you use God. Reverse it, dissect it from the belly inside out. And you got reverse engineer. Because everything they teach you is a lie. They just manipulate everything, take everything and twist it and put the, the godly things to the bottom and the antichrist things to the top. So what to the top is what easy for everybody to just scrape off. So everybody can scrape the antichrist. I love voice scrape. What is the scraping it, the loving it? But still in the mind, the perception is this God, because of the indoctrination of people's minds and brains. So
So when you do this though, when you reconstruct your mind, when you do the work, when you really get inside and get connected towards the eternal part of you, you now become an outcast in the society.
yes, because
How would you advise ones, or how would you encourage ones to trod that path? Because then everybody that could stand up alone, again, we are created as social beings. We are always tribal. Wherever we are, we can find a way to come together, right? Although we could acknowledge everybody might not be going the right way. And that one man, that one Indian that go over the hill and come out, tell everybody, look, boy, look, I got it, come. You know how hard it is to get people to come and go over that hill?
it's
You
true.
got you
Is it?
got no show them that the information you find over that hill is actually viable and actually could show them a way, like, all right, this is sustainable. You can actually have a living and a life, right? We start up the podcast talking about contentment, right? There's a lot of contentment that gonna have to happen. A lot of people can go, see something and not want it, because again, the most ambitious person can be corrupted so easily because of God price,
Correct.
right? So you gotta start to develop a space where you are a whole, regardless if you got this, that, or the third. You are a whole person as is, regardless of what you got on upon you. And then from there, you could move in such a way that you could go after what you need and want, and you could discern between the two. You know what I'm saying? Because if you only studying what you want, you disregarding what you need, and what you need is to survive. You understand? But so the question is, how would you encourage ones to go on our journey and be able to stand up and say, all right, all I want to go so, and they see what I ended up. I can go so. I don't know exactly where this can point me, but I know that this is adverse to what we're doing, and I ain't going with what we're going.
You gotta be strong, man. Strong spirit. You see, what's happening is I got a lot of strong spirits in the world, right? But weak minds. And that's how the people is corrupted so easy. You understand? So it's like they got certain people that is learn truth, and know it. But the journey is so hard to trod. And then you around so much people that different that over the other side. Sometimes people they just say, see me, they better jump back over the fence, because it make no sense. So you know, myself, I tell you they come over here and oh, these telling me mad, they telling me foolish. So it's better jump back over the fence. So it's got to take a strong spirit and a strong mind to keep trotting, right? And that is why it is give Kimar he props. Because he's a very strong spirit and strong minded spirit. And that is what you need. Not one that got a strong spirit but a weak mind, and they could use this body to sell the old people or give them X amount of money to do this or do that. That way it is need So you
Yeah.
need to be strong in the mind. Because the mind is everything. The mind controls your whole body. You can repair your body with your mind.
Hmm. Yeah. But
So,
sorry, finish. Go ahead, finish.
uh,
Right.
right, and it made me study back something that you said earlier about people that is looked down on people that don't have money, or you know. So it made me remember you, for instance, right? In terms of you start your new party, you know, you might not being a millionaire or gotten a big house or a big chain or big drugs to get, you know, or these things to give people. So people can look past the power of you as a being because you don't have nothing physical on the outside to show. And most people don't look on the inside of people to see the strength and the ability of people. So a lot of people again look past you until shit hit the fan, and then they realize you we need that youngster. We need him, boy. Cause we need change. So it's only when things blow up that people and it affect them come knocking at them door. It's when them is really, you know, catch the drift and then appreciate who they should appreciate before.
Yeah. Well, my brother. History is often kind to people like me. So let me thank you for that. Endorsement, that ringing endorsement. No, you don't
Hmm.
No problem,
always
buddy.
get what you should get at the time, but I'm not in it for the gain. I in it as just the messenger, to deliver the message, and whatever happened is up to the Father. I ain't necessarily here for the validation of the exercise that I am on at the moment. But I know that Barbados will be kind to itself. I don't need it to be kind to me. It needed
Correct.
to be kind to itself. Moving forward, I can find myself within that kindness. So, I look forward to what the future holds. But we are up at 9:30. We are at the end of our stream time. So I want to thank you guys for coming on this evening for the first episode of season 4, Alternate Views. It was good to have you back, Nigel. Nick, same good to have you on. I want to thank
Beautiful.
all of the alternate viewers in the comments for coming on and making the show what is Fabian Yard. Um, I am seeing Square 4. Welcome back, Square 4. Pedro Gemma, Terry Bellamy, Sean Cool. Um, Let me see who else here is giving us a shout out. Caribbean Girl, Ronald Butcher. Uh, that looks like Clay Key. Um, Epic Solar King. If that's one say, Anthony Oliver, Trevor. Thank you guys for commenting tonight on Spoken Media. Thank you very much for commenting on tonight on the live stream. We're going to be back here next week, Thursday again, 7:30 p.m. Every Thursday. So we'll be doing the requisite advertising beforehand just to ensure that we are that you know that we be streaming. So we look forward to your engagement as we, restart alternate views. As you know, things are ever present, ever changing, and we constantly make changes to adapt to current circumstances. Um, However, never losing our principles in the midst of it.
Hmm.
So we usually at this period, no, we just give thanks. We want to acknowledge God in everything that we do on alternative views. Nothing without help from God.
Nothing.
And Yeah. So I'd just like to say a big shout outs to all of my loved ones, family, everyone who will watch this program tonight. As I'm gonna pass over to uh, Nigel and Nicholas to get the parting words. So Nick, as our guest, we're gonna give you the first word, and then we're gonna pass on to Nigel, and then we're gonna wrap up.
All right, Kimar and Nigel, I want to thank you all for being on the show today as a guest, and it was very nice being here. At anytime that y'all want me to be on the show, I'm always available. I want to thank the viewers for watching, the comments, the subscribers, and I want y'all to keep watching every week. Do not miss it. Knowledge is power. We need to unify ourselves. We need to come together as one. This show will help you all to gather your thoughts together, gather your knowledge, and gather your strength. So don't miss it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Nick. Over to Nigel.
Yeah, big at yourself, Nick. You add a definitely necessary flair to the conversation. As you say, an alchemist just telling the truth, and that's what everybody needs. You're telling the truth here. Um, I would end with, as we start with a quote from Dr. Dennis Law, rest in peace. And we spoke about contentment. So I will share a poem that I have written, and it is very much in alignment with contentment. And it goes top down, inside out. That is the formula. Any other way only meant to harm you. Catch a heights and dive in uncharted territory. The inner compass always set to the divine sanctuary. And with that, over and out. Thank you to all the alternate viewers. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Kimar. We will see you here again next week. Bless up. Kimar, you keep going.
Yeah, he going,
All
he
right,
going.
all. Well, have a great night, everybody. I hope that poem ring true. And this will be online to play again and again and again and again. That's the thing about media. We always got it to watch as long as it's free.
It's
So
true.
every, everybody have a good one. Nick, we can see you again next week. Alternate
Yes,
viewers,
buddy.
bless up. All right, we keep going back again.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Nigel. Um, I will see you next week, Thursday. Both you and Nick. Hopefully, we be getting back any hot seat from next week. Tonight was just a welcome back night. But we're gonna get on the hot topics as usual. We had a very good season last season. We tend to stay out of the controversy, but as we proceed and as we go forward, I want to use the show um, for first and foremost for some self development, as there are some things that I need to learn, and I would like to invite you guys and all of the alternate viewers on that journey to learn as well. Eh, and we're going to use the time to help each other to build, right? Help each other to build. So I want to develop a concept like what you mentioned, the poor dad, rich dad ideology. Um,
Hmm.
so I myself am tasking myself to come to the viewers prepared for that new journey that we're going to take right here on alternate views. So thank you again, my brother. I will see
Hmm.
you next week. So good night to all of the alternate viewers. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next week, Thursday.
7:30 p.m. Have a good night. Sleep tight. See you later.